Are we ready to start? Good evening. Welcome to tonight's licensing subcommittee meeting. My name is Councillor Paul Alexander. I'll be chairing the meeting. The meeting is being broadcast live on the council's YouTube channel. If I lose connection and can't reconnect, Councillor Borrell will take over for me. In the intervening time, and sorry to the other members of the hearing, the applicant has withdrawn the application and has explained the reasons why, and I think licensing and are happy with the circumstances. I am. So this hearing will not be taking place as the applicant has withdrawn his application. If Councillor Stanton and Councillor Kwan would like to join me on Teams, I can expand a little bit on that, and obviously Gerta as well. Thank you, and I'll wish you good night. We will be reconvening at 8 o'clock for a second application.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, panel.
I'm assuming I don't need to do anything now. I can leave the meeting. Is that right?
Yeah, we've got the withdrawal now in writing. We've seen that, so that's absolutely fine. Yeah, we can leave, and yeah, that's fine. No problem.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Chair. We're ready to start the second hearing. Just to let you know, I think Mr. Panchal is having trouble connecting to the audio. Mr. Panchal, can you hear us? Yeah. He's having trouble, and I think he's having trouble at the start of the hearing as well. So, Adrian, I don't know. I don't think he can hear us either.
I agree. It appears he can't hear us.
I mean, he just needs to be present. So, I mean, he can try with his phone, or we can't hear him.
Can you hear us, Mr. Panchal? Could you nod if you can hear us? No, I don't think you can.
If he has the applicant with him, presumably this means we're not going to be able to hear from the applicant.
Unless they join, maybe he can try using his phone.
Says he's connecting now, so.
There you go. Mr. Panchal, can you hear us? You're on mute.
Sorry, yes, I hear you now. Can you hear
Okay, great. Okay, Chair, ready to start when you're ready.
Sorry, yeah, you had a bit of a thing.
Okay, I'm ready to start. Is the live stream started, Amrita?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening. Welcome to tonight's licensing subcommittee. My name is Councillor Paul Alexander, and I'll be chairing tonight's meeting. The meeting is being broadcast live on the council's YouTube channel. If I lose connection and can't reconnect, Councillor Borough Kwan will take over for me. I'd like to remind all the participants of a few points. Please keep your microphones muted unless you are speaking. Mr. Panchal, could you mute your microphone, please? Please keep your camera turned on when you speak at the hearing. Please note that the chat function has been disabled. If parties wish to add any additional information other than at their allotted time to speak, they must use the raise hand function so that they are not missed. I also ask that members keep their questions and comments brief and to the point. I now move to item 1 on the agenda. Apologies for absence.
No apologies. No.
Declarations of interest. Do members have any declarations of interest?
No, Chair.
None from me.
So I'll now move to item 3, North End Road Food and Wine, 228 North End Road, London, W14 9NU. I'd like to ask everyone participating to introduce yourself as I call on you. We should have with us Mr. Varandeep Singh Karuna, the applicant, Mr. Surender Panchal, the applicant's agent, Adrian Overton, the licensing team manager,
Present, thank you, Chair.
Gerta Kahelaj, the council's legal officer,
Present, Chair. Good evening.
Charlotte Dexter, resident and representing Karen Lewis and Lara Kennedy.
Yes, and I'm also representing Mrs. Shuffy. She just wrote an email about an hour and a half ago to 3 different, including Adrian.
Sorry, Adrian, I saw you nod. Does that mean that's correct?
That's fine. Yeah, no, I've got that email. Thank you, Chair. Yeah.
For the procedure, before we begin, I can confirm that in addition to the main agenda, supplementary agendas A, B, and C containing additional information were published and circulated to all parties on the 4th, 5th, and 6th of December 2023. Please may I quickly explain the procedure the committee will follow. We will hear from the following: the licensing officer who introduces the application, residents in objection, and finally the applicant. Usually each party will address the committee for a maximum of 5 minutes. Following the presentation by all the parties, the committee may ask questions of any party or any other person present at the hearing. Except committee members, no party has the right to ask questions of any other party at any time during the hearing. Following the presentation and questioning, each party will be allowed a maximum of 3 minutes to sum up their case or representation. The committee will then retire for deliberations. Upon its return, I will announce the committee's decision. Please keep your remarks as concise as possible. Presenting officer. Now ask the licensing officer, Adrian Overton, to introduce the application, please.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, panel. So just by way of background, on the 12th of October 2023, Personal Licence Courses UK made a new premises licence application on behalf of Mr. Singh Karuna in respect of the premises known as North End Food and Wine, 228 North End Road, London, W14 9NU. The applicant has applied for a new premises licence for the sale of alcohol off the premises and proposes to operate as an off-licence and a convenience store. The licensable activities sought in the application are as follows. The sale of alcohol off the premises only, Monday to Sunday, between the hours of 8 o'clock in the morning and 11 o'clock in the evening. And the opening hours of the premises are also Monday to Sunday, but between the hours of 8 o'clock in the morning and 11 o'clock in the evening. On the 7th of November 2023, the applicant agreed to add 4 conditions to the licence as outlined by trading standards in the report before you. Further to that, on the 13th of November 2023, in response to the representations, the applicant agreed to add a further condition if the licence is granted. And the condition that was agreed states that no alcohol delivery shall be made from the premises. During the consultation period, the licensing section received 4 representations objecting to the licence application from local residents. On the 13th of November 2023, the licensing team informed all of the objectors about the aforementioned conditions, which are all outlined, I believe, in section 1.2 of the report. You'll be aware that in addition to the main agenda, as mentioned previously, there have been 2 supplementary agendas which have been submitted and circulated to all parties. Supplementary Agenda A was circulated on the 4th of December and includes further information from an objector, and Supplementary Agenda C was circulated today and includes a local crime report and other information on local crime from one of the objectors, Charlotte Dexter. Thank you, Chair. I don't have any other comments at this stage unless you have any questions. Thank you.
No, thank you, Adrian. But I'll come to the resident objectors. Sorry, Adrian, I will ask a question. On the basis that we have extra representation, how many people will Charlotte be representing? It's just for the calculation of time.
I believe that Charlotte will be representing herself and 3 other, because there's 4 objectors in total, so she'll be representing herself and the other 3 people who've made representations.
So that would be 20 minutes.
That's correct, yeah.
Good evening, Charlotte. Charlotte Dexter, resident and representing 4 residents. You have 20 minutes, Charlotte.
Okay, thank you very much, Chair. I'd like to start with the actual agenda on which starts on page 52. First of all, the applicant under 1.2, as Adrian just mentioned, submitted or agreed to the 4 conditions that were suggested by trading standards. So as residents, we want to thank the applicant for that. That's very helpful. The applicant also suggested that no alcohol deliveries would be made from the premises, which we also thank the applicant for. Regarding the 4 first points, I think that the only thing that concerns the applicant, concerns the residents, is that the agent has the name Personal Licensing Training, and it took, the trading standards to actually suggest these conditions. And one would think that an agent whose name is Personal Licensing Training would actually come up with these in the operating schedule. But in any case, we do have these, and we're very happy with that. On page 53 at section 4.1, regarding enforcement, I just want to make clear that this comment about warnings and so on actually is about the previous premises. It's not about this premises, because this premises doesn't exist yet. And in fact, it's boarded up. There's nothing on the outside going on there. I mean, I went up there yesterday and it's very much boarded up. Just for the committee's information, it was a veg-an type of mini market that sold a lot online as well. I don't know why they closed, but it might be that they had more sales online. So that enforcement history is a little bit misleading, perhaps, at least to me it was until I read through it. And also on page 54 at the top, the same with tens. I mean, this applicant hasn't had any tens at this location, at this premises, because they don't have a premises license yet. The premises license previously was lapsed, and so we're talking about a new license here, not a variation. I would like to point out, however, that the previous license was from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So in some ways, this is asking for more hours than the previous license, which is an important point in your licensing policy and is brought up a few times, and I'll come back to that. Under section 5.2 on page 54, the licensing authority requires applicants to propose steps to promote the objectives of prevention of crime and disorder and look at location, character, condition, nature, and extent of the proposed use and persons likely to use the premises. Unfortunately, the applicant has given us no information regarding any of those points. And residents are always very concerned when the licensing policy states very clearly what the committee needs from the applicant, and yet the applicant doesn't give that info. And that's where residents then come in and give the committee that info. So we're a bit concerned about that, especially as far as access to the premises goes, which is bullet point number 2. And I already mentioned that to some extent this is about extended hours, because the previous place, which was 2019/00902, was only from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Under section 5.3, we'd like to thank the applicant for putting in a condition about drinks with beer over 5.5% won't be sold. So that's a positive, and we thank the applicant very, very much for that, because it has been a problem in the past, and this is getting under more and more control as one application comes and the next one comes. This is getting under control. So that's very, very good. We would like to point out on page 55, the second bullet point at the top. We believe that there's a lot of high risk involved, which I'll talk about in a second. And we're not sure that the applicant really understands the location and the risks involved and the high crime rates and so on, because nothing was mentioned about those. And we had correspondence back and forth with the applicant, but he was very clear that the police were on his side, and so he didn't need to discuss these things with us. On page 55 under point B, your licensing policy looks at cumulative adverse impact. And on page 82 of this agenda, trading standards in the middle of the page pointed out very clearly to the applicant that they are starting a business in a business that already has 4 off licenses right around it, plus 2 on Lily Road. And as you go up and down further, there's just a plethora of off licenses that have seemingly developed over the last few years or several years. And Trading Standards was very concerned, as you'll read yourself, and I won't repeat it, but I mean, it's very strong language from Trading Standards about how they're going to have a viable business in such a competitive environment, and that they not be tempted to use certain means or resources to make it a viable business. I was dumbfounded at how strong that language really is. But we thank Trading Standards for pointing this out to the applicant. The applicant hasn't responded, hasn't said anything. It'd be interesting to hear from the applicant about those concerns of Trading Standards. So again, on page 55, the paragraph above the table, this is mentioned again about cumulative impact and reasons that the committee has to come up with to allow this type of thing. On page 56, second paragraph before the end, your policy expects every holder of a license to expect the responsibility of minimizing impact of their activities on antisocial behavior of their patrons within the vicinity, etc. The applicant, I just would like to point out that the applicant has not done this. This is requested and required in the policy, and the applicant has not addressed this. So I hope that the committee will find a way for the applicant to address this tonight, because it is about the population densities, as mentioned in the final paragraph of page 56. Top of 57, residents need to be protected, and this includes vulnerable residents, children, etc. And in previous hearings, we've had situations where applicants have, for off licenses, have accepted or suggested themselves that they only take credit cards for alcohol purchases, which helps to limit the number of people coming in with a little bit of change for alcohol and so on. So I'm wondering whether the committee could consider discussing that with the applicant tonight. Policy 5.7 discusses planning. Planning is not licensing. Licensing is not planning. They are related. This place was a travel agent a long time ago. There isn't really up-to-date planning for this premises. It would be helpful if we had up-to-date planning, and a proactive approach from the applicant would help, because a lot of the conditions that planning gives are things that, licensing can't put conditions on, but planning can. We have asked the applicant to consider pulling back on the hours in the morning and late at night. And this is discussed here on page 57 in the third paragraph about how operating hours could be different. They could be different in planning, or they could be different also on the licensing application itself. Most concerning under C 5.8 is, we're very concerned about street drinking in North End Road. Like it or not, this is happening, and like it or not, it's increasing versus decreasing. So again, we wish that the applicant had addressed this issue and talked about this corner plot that he's on, which is on North End Road, as well as, right directly there in a residential road. And how is he going to monitor this? How is he going to move people on? What is he going to do? What is he not going to do? We have no ideas about what he's talking about, because he hasn't really addressed these things. On page 59 in the middle, where it talks about risks associated with the protection of children from harm, just as I said, no mention really about this. And yet there's a school right in the area that has 261 students in it, a primary school. So they'll be coming in for treats and bits and pieces. How is he going to deal with this when there are people outside maybe lingering around and so on? Nothing said yet, but we're looking forward to hearing what might be said. Okay. I also want to point out on page 80 the plan, which is I want to thank the applicant for sort of a new plan. Often we see plans that you can hardly read. So we've suggested very strongly, we've asked for shutters to be put in so that, you know, when alcohol isn't being sold, that it's clear that the alcohol cannot be sold. And this plan shows that that would be quite easy because alcohol is all going to be on the side. It isn't going to be down a middle aisle or anything. So I just wanted to point that out to the committee at this point. So I come now to page 82, where Trading Standards actually talked about the fact that they're in a very crowded area and where there are several of these off licenses, and Doug Love mentions at 210, 218, 242. So you're very aware of that. It's amazing how many off licenses are on North End Road, which is a planning issue, but licensing can help with that, obviously. So now I'd like to go to my supplemental, which we got together this afternoon. I have apologized in my memo to the committee that I could only get somebody in this morning and pay them to put this together with me. So I'm sorry, I just couldn't get anybody to help me. I'm not that tech savvy. So we've set out on the first slide, page 2, exactly what we are concerned about, which is that North End Road is a very key, unfortunate crime hotspot. We've shown here on the next page where almost directly across from the premises is the Holiday Inn, which is a huge problem for the local police. So we have the local police, the SNT, and we have licensing police. So we're more in contact with the local police because licensing police have told us that they don't want us to be asking them anything about licensing, which is unfortunate, but I do feel obliged to mention that to the committee. So there are all these off licenses. That point 3, there's a primary school, as I said, Ofsted numbers 261. And we know that there's direct correlation between antisocial behavior and crime and disorder, and you know, children and schools and residential and so on and so forth. So I've set those out for you as evidence because you need evidence. You, the committee, need evidence to take your decision, and the applicant didn't set out any of those points. On page 4 and 5, we've taken from the web, obviously, a view of where the premises is, the residents around it, all around, the school up towards the left, the Holiday Inn to the right. So it's a very active, vibrant area. Lots of tourists in that area who will be good customers, obviously, for any of the off licenses. They'll have lots of choice. We're concerned about, in the middle of a big road like North End Road, but we have hundreds, if not thousands of residents all around. You know, they need quiet, they need sleep, they don't need to be, especially the people right above this premises and right around this premises. They have the right to quiet enjoyment and so on. So we've come to always on pages 6 and 7. In this, we always want to bring this chart in for any new committee members tonight. So Mrs. Kwan and so on, that Hammersmith and Fulham, like it or not, is the most sleep disturbed borough in London, with the statistics there, and also the Lancet research regarding mental health and the need for anyone to be able to sleep, but especially children going to school the next day. So again, this is evidence, and these are facts and figures that you, the committee, need to take your decisions or suggest conditions or ask about things with the applicant. On pages 8 and 9, okay, 8 is the famous, I think every committee member knows this famous High Court decision about quiet enjoyment and so on. And on page 9, we do therefore thank the applicant for suggesting that they won't be doing deliveries of alcohol. We had a bit of a back and forth just to explain to the committee about deliveries. apparently, because you're only responsible for alcohol, you can't ban all deliveries of anything, of food and so on. So this meeting is only about alcohol and deliveries of alcohol. So, okay, we now understand that. At the same time, on slide 9, noise and nuisance does suggest in your policy that deliveries and collections, anything going on between the premises and anything coming or going from the premises happen between 7:30 a.m. and 9 p.m. Again, so that there isn't noise and nuisance for residents. So this is an important point that we would appreciate the committee taking into consideration regarding the sale of alcohol and the timings that are finally decided, we hope, tonight. So we've put this evidence together. We're trying to encourage less early morning and late night sale of alcohol to limit the amount of problems that we have on North End Road. And the problems are increasing. We believe that shutters are, I mean, where's the discussion? I don't understand why the applicant was not willing to agree with us. Instead, they said, no, we must go to the committee and the committee must decide about shutters. But shutters are in your policy. I mean, they're a key point in your policy for restricting alcohol sales and making clear, visually clear to people when alcohol is just not available, and makes it easy for people selling, the people at the counter, to just say, oh, I'm so sorry, when the shutter is down, we can't sell alcohol, versus having a fight about it, which has happened in our local, right here around the corner at the end of North End Road, when they don't have shutters. In fact, they've put shutters in. They weren't required, but now they've put shutters in themselves because they had people coming in and coming around the corner and counter and just, trying to grab stuff and steal it and so on. So these are real things that happen. And it's critical to us as residents that these things are get under control. They really need to not start as a problem. And that's why we're at a hearing like this tonight, because we want to make sure that things are limited in a good and reasonable way from the start, because it's very difficult to gather evidence and get to a review and so on. I've also, on page 10, I again, for new committee members tonight, in other words, I know you're part of the committee.
So, sorry if I'm interrupting you, Charlotte.
What?
You've got about a minute and a half left.
Okay. Yeah, it's important for anyone new to know that there has been this decision at the appeal level about delivery drivers can't be controlled and so on. So you can read that, but it's an important point. So I'd like to thank the committee for listening. We spend a lot of time and effort as residents trying to put together evidence that you need to take your decisions. And we appreciate your time and the resource that you give to us to present as we do this evening. And I speak on behalf of the other 3 applicants for the same reasons. I also want to say in Barclay Road, we have a big problem with deliveries coming through our road and rat running. And that's one of the reasons that I'm involved in a lot of these hearings, because we're victims of that. Thank you very much.
Charlotte, thank you very much. I'll now come to the applicant. Mr. Panchal, are you ready? And you have the same time as Charlotte said.
Sorry, Chair, I've just unmuted myself. Can you hear me?
I can hear you very well, thanks.
Okay. Chairman, I'm going to go through the application. First of all, I'd like to thank the Charlotte for at least thanking us regarding the application and some of the points that she's agreeing that we put up. I'm going to be quick and I need some time, Chair, because I've heard a lot of things that she would like to us to answer, and that's going to take a bit of a time for me. But I'll try my best to fit into the time that you've given me. First of all, this application has been put in by Mr. Warinder Singh. We put in on behalf of Mr. Warinder Singh Khurana. He does have a lot of experience of running off licenses. That's a major thing that somebody, when takes over an off license or runs an off license, must have in a past experience. He's got about 5 to 6 years experience. The family, his father is also on off license in Birmingham and everywhere. So he understands the full licensing objectives also, and he understands how robustly they should be promoted. For us to let you know that there will be a Challenge 25 policy on the premises, posters will be put up for that. There will be a please leave quietly to consider the public nuisance part of it. In the crime and disorder, there will be a CCTV running for 31 days. It will be able to give the responsible authorities when and when they require the normal CCTV in the USB. They will also have a refusal book, the thing required by the section guidance 182. They will have an incident book also. And they will also have a training manual to make sure every staff that is employed, the staff will have a training carried out to make sure they follow the full licensing objectives. Sorry, Chair, and I was referring to the neighbors were referring to that whether we have not discussed how we're going to run, how the client is going to run the premises. But I would like you to go through on page 71 of your bundle, and you can see the operating schedule that we put in during the application bit. Sorry, did I hear somebody say to me? So under the operating schedule, we have explained how the 4 licensing objectives are going to be promoted. And you can see that even during that application period, we've also mentioned prior to anybody or during the application period that we will not be selling any beer, lager or cider and stout above 5.5. Having looked at the premises and having my client's knowledge of the area, which he has, and it is not under the CI's cumulative impact zone, that I would like to make it clear with the committee. And that is why street drinkers will not be attracted, because there will be no alcohol which is stronger for them. There will be no alcohol sold for consumption of the premises shall be sold only in sealed containers. So there will be no alcohol sold on open containers. So, ma'am, we have, sorry, Chair, we have discussed in the operating schedule how robustly the 4 licensing objectives will be promoted in the area. I'm also looking at the guidance section 14.19 regarding the concern that I've seen about the neighbors that there are too many off licenses in the area, but there can be confusion about the difference between the need for premises and the cumulative impact of the premises and the licensing objectives. For example, on crime and disorder, need concerns the commercial demand for another pub or restaurant or hotel and is a matter for the planning authority and for the market. This is not a matter for the licensing authority in discharging its licensing functions or for its statements in licensing policy. I'm quoting the 14.19 regarding law. We have discussed this matter with the police, and the licensing police officers have more idea of the area and have more idea when they are dealing with the matter. We discussed this with them. We agreed the conditions they wanted on the premises license. We also discussed with the training standards, and we took their consideration, and we agreed the four conditions they were willing to put on the condition. On the other hand, Chairman, we have also on numerous occasions we're going up and down with the neighbors in discussing matters, and we have agreed quite a lot of things with the neighbors by saying that yes, there will be no deliveries. We understand this law that we are dealing with the licensing at the moment, so we can only say that we will not be doing any alcohol deliveries, but be rest assured we're not going to be doing any deliveries, whether they are alcohol or whether they are goods, so other goods. So my client does not want to deal into any deliveries, whatever the matter comes up. And I've explained to you how robustly the 4 licensing objectives are going to be put into. During the term period, I can understand that there is a school downstairs. My client does understand. And during the term period, we will be making sure we have an extra staff during the afternoon period when the children leave the school, and that staff will control the number of children going in and the number of children coming out of the shop, which is a very consideration. And most of the off licenses have this problem when they are around the school. So we will be taking those into consideration. We have managed to cooperate, which you have seen on numerous occasions. The neighbors have thanked us for cooperating with them, that yes, we are willing to work along with them, because we will be depending. We will not be doing deliveries. We will be depending on these neighbors of ours from whom we will be expecting the shop to run in a profitable manner. So we are here discussing everything that the neighbors want. We've discussed how the 4 licensing objectives will be promoted. We are saying there will be no delivery. We are prepared to sell alcohol which is not above 5.5, which stops the street drinkers. So, Chairman, we have put down everything, and we are here. We've followed the licensing policy, and I would like to quote in your licensing policy, if you go into page 54 of your bundle, section 5.2, that we were concerned. There are steps we are asked to look. We've just presented you the steps how robustly the 4 licensing objectives will be promoted: crime and disorder. Yes, we do understand that we've not put in any temporary event notices because we haven't yet. The premises has not yet been ready to serve or to start with yet. If the license is granted, it will then be working along. So, Chairman, we have looked at all the matters. We have worked out. If there are any questions, and if you want to understand more, we are happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, you're on mute.
Mr. Panchal, thank you very much, and thank you for putting your case quite concisely. I'm sure my colleagues will have some questions. I just have a couple, if I can just start with, and I'll come back to the reasons why. On page 80 of your application, there's a proposed licensing floor plan, and it shows the entrance door. Could you tell me how wide that entrance door is and how high the step is to get in and out of the shop?
Will you be able to tell that? Sorry, I'm going to ask the client because I wouldn't know how high the door is.
The width of the door and the height of the step.
The width of the door.
Width of the door standard.
It's a standard width. Standard.
Could you give that to me in standard units of centimeters or inches?
Normal door.
It's a normal standard door, and I do apologize.
Yeah, you have to forgive me. Could you tell me how wide the standard door is?
I think the width of the standard door would be about 1.5 meters. That's my guess, Chairman, because I wouldn't be.
And could you tell me the height of the step?
Is there a step that goes?
Yeah, it's like a little step. Yeah.
And how high is the step? It's a 6 inches step.
6 inches, so 150 centimeters. Yeah, sorry, 150 millimeters.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the applicant's knowledgeable in the area. Could you tell me how far it is from your shop to the, or from the proposed premises to the to Norman Park?
Which park? Sorry.
Norman Park.
Norman Park. How far is it?
I think 5 minutes.
About 5 minutes.
Are you able to say that in meters?
Or meter or what?
Or feet or?
I'm not good at that.
He's not good at that, so I do apologize.
So 5 minutes is would be 3/4 of a mile, or about a kilometre. Would that be what you wanted to say?
Would be a kilometre or so? But not really, Chair. I wish we'd known this before we could have measured and
Sorry, Chair, can I intervene? If the applicant doesn't know the distance in meters,
Yeah,
he can't
thank you, Gerd.
confirm that.
Thank you, Gerd. I just wanted an idea of, because the applicant had said he was very knowledgeable of the local area, and I thought we might be able to say that, but not to worry. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to pass over to my colleagues to ask questions. Councillor Stanton, Councillor Kwon.
Chair, I have no questions at this time.
Councillor Kwon.
Can I ask the applicant his just sort of background and history in running similar businesses and so on, just so that I know whether he's encountered some of the problems and things that can come with selling alcohol on a busy high street environment?
You can closer and
Yeah, sure. Hi, good evening all, and I would like to answer your question that since I've been graduated from university, I have joined my family business, which is the retail of working as in a off license. And my family has been in the same retail for the past 20 years. And since I've joined a couple of years, I've been managing 3 to 4 stores based in London and in Birmingham, which mostly all of them sell alcohol. So I am aware how to run an off license on a daily basis. And in terms of prevention of crime, I know that it's by law we have to have a CCTV camera, which should be running for 31 days because it can be asked by the police or anyone for safety purposes. And in terms of like running an off license, and as you said, how to keep up the crime and for the public safety, for the public safety, we do make sure that we treat our customers just like our family. Because it's important to talk with respect and care with our customers so they don't cause any trouble to ourselves and the community and the local people, whether it's inside the shop or outside the shop. So we do tell our customers to make sure you leave quietly and not to cause trouble. And in terms of the concern was today about the delivery. So as the resident didn't want us to sell alcohol through deliveries, so I made a decision to not do deliveries at all. I know that nowadays doing deliveries does make an effect on our sales, but I just came with a decision: if the neighbors or the residents locally do not want anything to do deliveries, I won't do it. But in terms of the hours, the operating hours of the shop, if you're going to be reducing them, then it's going to affect on the business a lot. But yeah, if you have any other questions, I'm willing to answer. Thank you.
Thank you. No further questions from me, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Kwon. If I can come back, Charlotte, maybe you could help me.
Yes, here I am. Sorry.
Do you know roughly how far Norman Park is from this proposed premises?
From there, it's about a 3-minute. Well, the beginning of it's 2.5, 3-minute walk.
Okay,
So 400 meters.
Yeah, I'd put it at probably about 200 meters.
Yeah,
and this would be the nearest off license to Norman Park. And I'll explain my question. Norman Park is the #1 blight in this area for street drinkers, drug users, and a whole pile of problems in there. And obviously, as a new off license, you might not be aware of this. So that was my reason for asking. But if I can come back to the applicant, the reason for asking about the plan is, I want to know how somebody with a wheelchair or with any other physical disability will get in and out of your shop or in and out of the premises.
Yeah, because of I haven't started any major alterations or anything to the shop, as you can see, because I've applied for a premise license, and afterwards, if I do get granted with a premises license, then once I've been, I'll be doing work to the shop, and I'll make sure I create a ramp or get rid of the steps, so people with disability or wheelchairs, they can access the shop and use the facilities to buy their goods or their everyday needs.
So the if you're going to make changes to the shop, will you need any planning consents?
Access to wheelchair does not need the planning permission at this very instance, because all he's doing is removing that step or having a ramp for the wheelchair to come in.
And the ramp wouldn't interfere with the pavement outside?
No.
No. And just to confirm, the door width, what door width would you propose?
The door width at the moment is wide enough for a wheelchair access to have access to the shop. So I don't need to make any alterations to the width of the shop, the door.
Okay. And is that based upon the door being 1.5 meters wide?
At the moment, we haven't measured the door to give maybe a size at this instance. So it would be very difficult for me to tell you anything that could be right or wrong. But it does have enough access from the way we look at it.
But we have to make sure that we that if you're
Chair, just to let you know,
can I intervene?
Sorry,
I've got my hands up because I do not think that that is a licensing consideration. The width of the door, whether it's accessible by wheelchair or whether they can grant a planning permission or apply for a planning permission.
Thank you very much, Gert. Okay, I'll leave at that point. Councillor Stanton, do you have any questions? Councillor Kwan?
No, Chair.
Okay, I have no further questions. Sorry, Gertrude, you had your hand raised.
No, sorry, I couldn't try to unraise my hand. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. So if there's no further questions, I'll leave it to summing up, and I'll start with the licensing officer, Adrian Overton, please.
Thank you, Chair. Nothing else to add. Thank you.
Thanks. Charlotte Dexter, you have 12 minutes to sum up.
Yeah, okay. I won't sum up in the sense that I've made my points, but I do note that the applicant said that during term time, they would be putting extra staff on to control the in and out of children and so on, and that they're aware of that being kind of a concern, which it is. So I don't have the answer to this, but I would hope that when the committee deliberates, if there's any type of condition that could be put on the license that would make that something that they've suggested, and therefore they will do, and they will be held accountable for, that would be very, very helpful to the community, in my opinion. And it might set a nice standard for other things in the future. Not that anything has precedent, but it might be a leading force. So that might be quite positive. I also would say that I appreciate Councillor Alexander bringing up Norman Park. I didn't dare bring it up because it's so difficult, but I appreciate you bringing it up, and it is really the reason that we as residents are so concerned about more off licenses in this area, because the more we have, the more opportunities there are. Let's put it that way. So we would like to re-emphasize in my summing up that we believe that shutters are in your policy as a point that there's to us it's so simple, and inside shutters, over alcohol, and we feel very strongly that, like it or not, it's a good way to help the applicant to limit any public safety issues inside his premises, where people come in and they start grabbing things and so on at the wrong time. So we would hope that the committee would consider that point and or talk with the applicant now about whether they're willing at this stage to consider it. My sense was they're willing to consider it in front of the committee, but not just with residents. Who are we? We're just the people around. We're just the residents. But you're the committee, and they want to speak with the committee. So please, would you speak with them about the shutters and the control of children, which they've suggested. So how are we going to get that into a condition as well? That would be very helpful. Thank you very much.
Have you finished, Charlotte?
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That was very concise. Thank you. If I can now come to the applicant, please. Mr. Panchal, you have up to 12 minutes to speak.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, we have we have been very cooperative all through the period. If you look at it, that we have spoken to the residents, come forward with no deliveries. We're happy to look into the shutters matter that the residents are looking at, Charlotte's looking at. May I just bring it to your attention? Your policy says there are shutters to prevent alcohol from being selected in non-licensed periods. We will be mirroring the licensing hours. So if today the license was granted from 8 o'clock to 11 o'clock, which we are looking at, we will be mirroring it. So in other words, we will not be opening the unlicensable times according to your policy. Yes, we will look into the shutters for the beers and that side. In considering that factor, if there were burglaries or that happened during that period. But yes, we will definitely look into that matter. Chairman, the other thing is we are making sure, and I'm glad that the neighbors are not totally refusing for the license, and they are considering us to be cooperative, which we are. So we will be trying our best to make sure that the matters are in hands. The last 4 licensing objectives are robustly promoted. You have seen my client who has already told you how he is going to be promoting the 4 licensing objectives. There was no hesitant. He understands that, and he has that experience, and it will be his part to make sure the business is successful. So, Chairman, we feel that this license be granted today.
Mr. Panchal, thank you very much. I have 2 hands raised. I'm going to ask them to tell me what it is that they need to draw to my attention. If there is something that they say that you feel you want to reply to, I will, of course, allow you to reply to it.
Thank you very much, Chair.
So, Adrian,
cross-reference.
No, sorry. So, Adrian, you had your hand up.
Thank you, Chair. I don't know whether it would help if I just clarified the situation in our licensing policy in relation to shutters and when they're typically used in licensed premises. I can go through that if that would help you.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So essentially, there is a condition on some occasions that's put on licensed premises that says shutters shall be used or shall be available or installed at the premises. They're typically installed at premises where, as Mr. Panchal said, where other activities go on past the time that licensable activities end. So then it would make sense at that point to put the shutters down so that nobody can be then taking alcohol and taking it to be purchased at that particular premises. Where there is a parallel between the licensable hours and the closure of the premises, as there is in this application, I don't know where shutters would be used or how they would be useful to promote the licensing objectives, because all the time the premises would be open, they could be selling alcohol. So that's my opinion on it. And I think it is reflected in the policy where it says there are shutters to prevent alcohol from being selected in non-licensed periods. But I thought I'd just clarify that for you. Thank you.
Adrian, thank you very much. Charlotte, I can't permit you to have an extended or a second go at summing up. So it would have to be something very, very serious or something very, very important. And I may well have to override you if it's not. So please tell me what your point is.
Yeah. Unmute. You need to unmute yourself.
Sorry, my point leads directly into what Adrian just spoke about. That we.
No, so sorry, Charlotte. I have to stop you because you can't speak on what Adrian on what
Okay.
Adrian said.
It's
so you've gone to mute, and hopefully you'll trust the committee will cover all the points, because I'm not going to allow you to.
No, it's our point too. Excuse me. Our point too was that the
resident can't cross-reference.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Charlotte. I have to overrule you on advice. So, Mr. Panchal, did you need to clarify anything over what the licensing officer has explained?
No, sorry, Chair. I did mention, and Adrian has already clarified that we are mirroring the hours of the opening at the moment from 8 o'clock to 11 o'clock. So we will be mirroring the hours. So we will not be needing the shutters according to the policy, which is Adrian's just explained. If we were to open after
okay, thank you. That's sufficient, and I'm sure the committee have taken on board everything that's been said. So I'm now going to move the agenda on to deliberation.
Chair, I'm so sorry. Can I interrupt? Can I please listen to what Mr. Panchal wanted to say, because I think he wanted to say something. If the hours are not mirroring.
If I stop you for a moment, Amrita, from a governance point of view, is that permitted?
Yes. Gerta Ken asked.
I want to clarify a legal point of view, Miss Chair, because Mr. Panchal,
thank you. Yes, please go ahead.
I think I would like to clarify when we go to deliberation, if the hours, if the committee is minded, for example, not to grant the hours as they requested, and they will not mirror the opening hours, I want to hear Mr. Panchal's point of view, whether he would consider to include shutters or not.
Yes, we'll definitely include the shutters if
the shutters condition.
Yeah, that definitely we will have to. There will be no choice if we were to open. If you were to.
Thank you. This is what I wanted to clarify. Thank you so much.
Okay, I think we have kind of deviated from the normal format here, but I'm hoping that nobody's got an objection over the way we've handled this. Okay, if everybody's happy, then the committee will now retire to take its decision in a separate room. You're welcome to remain in the meeting to hear the committee's decision. However, this may take some time. If you don't want to wait, a summary decision will be published on the council's website tomorrow morning. Can I ask members to turn off their video, mute their microphones, and join the private teams meeting for deliberations? Thank you.
Sorry, Chair, before you go, what time are we going to be back?
When the committee have made a decision.
Councillor Kwon, I wanted to intervene and say that you were not a new member of the committee, but then I let it go.
It's fine. That's Charlotte. That was my first Charlotte Dixon experience.
Gerta, we can hear. Can you put your speaker on mute, please?
Sorry.
Can I just ask if the chair's present? Thank you. Chair, are you ready to announce the decision? You're on mute, sorry.
Yeah, I'm ready, Amrita.
Okay.
London Borough of Hammersmith and Fulham, summary decision of the Licensing Committee, 6th of December 2023. North End Food and Wine, 228 North End Road, London W14 9NU. The committee has considered an application for a new premises licence for the sale of alcohol off the premises only under the Licensing Act 2003. In summary, the committee has decided, after taking into account all of the individual circumstances of this case and the promotion of the 4 licensing objectives, to 1, grant the application as follows. The sale of alcohol off the premises only Monday to Sunday 9 to 11. Sorry, that's 9 to 2300 hours. The opening of hours of the premises Monday to Sunday 8 o'clock to 2300 hours. To add to the licence conditions proposed by the applicant in the operating schedule. To add to the licensing 4 conditions proposed by the trading standards. The licence is subject to mandatory conditions. This licence becomes operational with immediate effect. If problems are experienced, then an application for a review of the premises licence can be made. A copy of the committee's full decision, including its reasons and the full text of the conditions added to the licence, will be sent to the parties forthwith. If the applicant is unhappy with the decision, they are entitled to appeal to the Magistrates' Court within 21 days from the date of notification of the full decision. This is the Licensing Subcommittee, 6th of December 2023. Thank you very much, and thank you all for your assistance this evening. Good night.